assuring that they would do everything they could to keep employees that we have to work for them, covering everybody that we have currently covered, and people that we expect to be covered, they would continue to cover or accept. And again, I think they did an excellent job in presenting themselves. They certainly convinced me that they were adequate to handle our residents and our needs. They actually took care of, they just, I believe, bought or took over Greene County. They're doing Greene County. They're in Ulster County doing some of theirs. They're in probably, I don't know, more than a dozen other counties as far as counties that they cover. And they have a reputation that they do a very good job. And I was convinced that I was certainly comfortable with them taking over our residents. The board voted it down. I was very surprised at this vote. To me, and this is just my opinion, it was a completely 100% political vote. And it's unfortunate because we lose, last year we lost $750,000 on the Certified Home Health Agency. Currently we have about 22, 23 people that we serve in the entire county. And the numbers are not there to support the amount of staffing we have. The reimbursements are not there. The state certainly is trying to push counties out of the home nursing agency. The reimbursements have just continued to drop off where counties cannot continue to pay the benefits, the salaries, and everything we're paying and maintain a profit. So that's why the individual companies, the private companies can come in and do it for much less. And Medicaid can continuously drop their prices. If they get the counties out of the way, they can drop even more. So they want counties out, and there's only a few counties that still remain that have a certified home health agency. It amazes me because you lost $750,000 last year on this. The year before it was $600,000. This year they're predicting close to $1 million loss because, like I said, the reimbursements continue to go down. The customers are not there, so you have very little pool of money to start with, and yet the majority of the supervisors approved to continue this service. $750,000 is roughly 2% of your county tax roll. Every $400,000 is 1%. So 2% of your taxes could have been eliminated by selling this company to the company that wanted to purchase this. All I can say is that at our last committee meeting, I insisted that the head of this department come up with some solutions to try to reduce, if the supervisors want to keep this, that we have to figure out a way to reduce the cost. I insist that you come back to the next meeting with the amount of people that are staff, the amount of customers we're taking care of, and come back with some solutions to reduce the amount that we're spending on this program. I don't want to reduce the services. Obviously, we want to take care of anybody that needs it, and certainly provide what's needed. But we have to figure out a way to cut this back because, to me, it's very difficult to try to go through a budget process knowing that you're going to lose $1 million to cover 22 people. I just can't accept that. So I can't say any more than I'm just very disappointed with the vote on that.
The number of people that's being served, since you've got another organization that's already applied for a certificate of need to operate in the county, so now you're going to be competing with the Eddie Bishop and with the other one, so the county will probably
lose even more.
Correct.
And that's the thought. Years going forward.
It doesn't seem to make sense to lose that amount of money every year when that money could be used for other things and the people could be served adequately in other agencies. Look, that's something that the investigative reporter ought to look into.
Yeah. All right. Well, enough said about that. The only other thing I want to mention is not really county business, but the town barbecue. I want to make sure we remind everybody about our annual barbecue, which is next month. It's August 4th this year, Saturday, August 4th. The garden tractor pulls begin at 10 o'clock. See that little flyer?
I did.
Yes.
Yes.
So the ground's open at 10 a.m. with the tractor pulls. There's going to be children bounce houses, games, hay rides, music, antique displays, vendors, bake sale, raffle tickets, prizes, and much more. Clermont Fire Company will also be performing a live demonstration this year, which is something new we had down there. Obviously, they sell hamburger and hot dogs all day for the tractor pulls, and then the chicken and roast beef dinner starts with 3:30 settings and 5:30. So 2 settings for the actual barbecue. So I encourage anybody that can, stop by, see us, come on down, have a good time. It's always fun. I think I'm gonna get stuck in the dump booth again, so if anybody wants to throw something at me, it's a good time to take a shot.
Did you say
I'll
5 to
take
8?
the dollars.
Oh, you're not going. 3:30 and 5:30.
No, for the garden tractor pull.
10 o'clock, they start at 10
Okay.
a.m. And they usually run quite a while. They're usually there until early afternoon anyway. They run for quite a while. And they get quite a turnout for that, actually.
They do.
There's a lot of people that show up for those tractor pulls, garden tractor pulls. Okay, that's all I have for tonight. Motion to pay abstracts.
I move that we pay highway abstract number 7, vouchers number 55 to 66, in the amount of $9,268.78.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
I move to pay general voucher number 7, general abstract number 7, vouchers 155 to 183, in a total of $7,537.43.
Second. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, public communications, comments for the board? Lee, if you please.
Yeah, a week ago Saturday, I was over at Copay Community Days, which was very nice. And this past Saturday, I was over to Philmont Community Days, which was, I really enjoyed that one. The kids had some old-fashioned games like 3-legged races and sack races. That was kind of good. When I first moved here, one of the first things I came to was the barbecue. And the 2 first people I met were Joan DeLaurentis, who signed me up for the hospital auxiliary, and Nancy Moore, who was sitting at a Democratic booth, and we sat and talked, and she gave me some paperwork for registering to vote in the area.
You start arguing right over there?
Yeah. I don't understand why, because I think, and a few people in Philmont pointed it out, that it was really very good to have the registration forms for young people and the absentee ballot applications. It makes it, easier for people to sign up. And if both groups are there, I was wondering why we don't allow that, because both groups were at Colpig. I don't know if both groups were at Philmont. I didn't check that one out, but both groups were at Colpig, and what I really enjoyed seeing was Republicans and Democrats talking to each other civilly and shaking hands, and it was nice. I was just wondering why we don't do it, and if the board would reconsider it.
Well, I'm not going to speak for the board, but I'm just going to, off the top of my head, I think that was, we only do one event a year. I think, keep the politics completely out of it is what my feeling would be, but, equal representation, I guess it's a feeling of what the board would like to see. I mean, it's really not my call, but I just think it's something that we do for the town. We don't really want any politics. I wouldn't want any politics involved.
Well, it's also information. I mean, a lot of people don't even know who's running on either side, or who they are, or what they are, and
Very true.
they're so uninformed. It's not, even if they just pick up a pamphlet as they walk by, at least they've got information to read. We're not convincing anybody one way or the other, but, well, what do you think about it?
It actually, historically has not been a board decision, I don't think. Maybe it should be, but I think it's been a committee decision, and I remember vaguely having a discussion about that probably with Charlie or one of the other committee members. I don't remember their reasoning. My thought is that I would agree with Judy that, not to turn it into a whole political thing, but it's a tradition in this country, county fairs, whatever, those kind of things, that people do go there to campaign. We've had people come through the barbecue handing out their palm cards, and it would seem that as long as you don't turn it into a political rally, that to have a booth for the Republicans, a booth for the Democrats, and a booth for the conservative or independents if they so desire. You know, keep it on a small scale, but to give out the information. Or maybe, and this, again, I'm not suggesting that the board adopt this, but maybe suggest it to the committee, maybe a combined booth to give out information, and let them agree not to fight and just sit there together. I mean, one of the things we've tried to do in the last couple of years is to let people get along on town level, regardless of party affiliation. I think it's been working fairly well, and that might further that as well. So
We could certainly recommend it to the Village Green Committee, because we don't really have anything to do with planning the barbecue, but we could certainly see, recommend it to them. and they
In
consider
the
it.
vendor section, that's where Nancy was sitting last time. As a matter of fact, it was only a Democratic booth when I moved here, there was no Republican booth. She was talking to me and I said, she said, would you sign up? I said, well, I'm a Republican. I said, where's the Republican booth? She said, we don't have one. I said, okay, and I sat and talked with her, I was like,
All right, well, I'll certainly put it out there and see what the feeling is, if they,
a voter information booth that could be manned by both parties at the
It
same
should be
time,
both
or
parties, yeah.
alternately.
it should be both
You
parties.
know,
so
in the
they-
morning,
they give
the Democrats,
information.
in the afternoon, the Republicans, but handing out information and available.
Just information. There'd be no arguments or no
No.
Yeah.
debating
Well, there
or
wasn't in
anything,
Phil
just,
Mountain, there wasn't in Copeland.
no, there shouldn't be. No,
No.
all the events that we do food at, they all do those things. But they're all done very diplomatically, where people just meet prospective candidates from both sides, or whatever, and it helps them to decide. In fact, it may indeed pull a community more together, it might draw more people, and it might be a positive thing, if it's done correctly.
more importantly, get voter registration cards, and that'd be a good way to get them out, so I encourage
And
everybody.
if it's not done correctly, then, you always have the opportunity to cancel it.
Well, you could fix it.
Yeah.
But one of the problems we have in this country is there's less and less people becoming active in politics, whether it's county or town government, state government. And if this is a way to encourage young people to get involved, I'm all for it, because the younger generation, they don't care. And they're the backbone of this country. That's what we're here for, us people. We're here for the young ones. And by doing this, it might, if these prospective candidates can get down on their level and try to get them interested in being involved, I think it could be a very positive thing. Because if we don't get involved, then everything goes downhill. And that's what's really happening in this country. Both Democrat and Republican parties, the younger people just aren't involved anymore. So,
In fact, we're right, I certainly would not want to see it become a political rally. No, but just primarily an informational.
like shaking a hand and handing something out, there's nothing wrong with it.
I think a former board member and former candidate.
And former chairman of one of the two political parties mentioned.
Would like to say something.
Well, we'll certainly pass that along to the committee and see what they say, and see if there's any objections or, but,
Because I wanted to just say that I was here before Judy was living here, and I was involved in the setting up of the tables. Perhaps at the time you were there was no Republican at the table, but it was set up originally for only voter registration forms and absentee ballot. It was an informational desk where people could have conversations with the representatives of the two parties. And at the time, if I don't know what year you're talking about, but whenever we did that, there were representatives from both parties there, or maybe other parties as well. So we tried to establish that.
I will tell you what Nancy told me that day.
Well,
I'll tell you later.
that's hearsay anyway. The issue is, I think the issue is what you do there. If I don't know what they did in the other towns, but our discussion here, and it should also be run past the Board of Elections and other people, it was because there are rules. So having candidates' pamphlets on the table is probably not a good idea, in my opinion. They can be there, maybe they're circulating around, they'll come anyway, whether you want them or not. But an official, because it's but maybe in the past it was an official town event.
The town used to, yes, then it was turned over to the village green.
So now there is a gray area that's been created. Does the town give any money to the village green?
Not for
Committee?
barbecue.
Not for but for other events?
Yes.
There could be some technicalities that, and I would advocate anyway, to keep the bipartisan feeling, that the town officials are there, just like at the board on election day, there's the Republican person, there's the Democratic person, and they're just there to have the function occur in a bipartisan fashion. In this point, at what you're raising, I think it's a great idea. And we tried to redo that a few times. Probably the same reason there was nobody wanted to do it, or I have to sit there all day long, whatever the answer was. To have voter registration forms and absentee ballot forms available and somebody there to describe what you do, that I think is a good thing. Of course, I'm no longer an officer of the Democratic Party in the town or the county, so it's a personal opinion.
Well, Philmont had a Republican booth. I honestly didn't see what they had on there. They had a Democratic booth that did have pamphlets and whatever.
Of candidates?
Of candidates. They allowed me to be there with my newsletter. So I had the newsletter out for anybody
On
who's
the
interested.
Democratic table? And then you
No,
weren't
no,
very
no,
Republican?
no. I actually, because I walked one of the candidates around, I actually wasn't by the Republican booth, I walked the person around, and that's what I said, I was very happy that when we went to the Democratic booth, the gentleman stood up and shook our hands, and we talked a little bit, and went on. I'm sorry, that was in Copic.
You
In
do the same
Philmont,
thing as the county fair.
right, in Philmont, to be honest, I didn't see any Democrats, I didn't even see any Republicans, but I was allowed to be there with the newsletter again. And, matter of fact, they invited me to come to the music in the park because they liked the fact that there was something there with information that people were looking at. And of course, but I didn't like the fact that it was just, as I said, when I started the newsletter, there was an agreement with the head of the other party that it wouldn't be a newsletter without stating a mission statement, that it was party-based. So I would like to see something, and I said, in fact, I talked to somebody in Chatham last year who said the Democrats would love to have a newsletter like I do.
There is well, that's a discussion for someone else.
Yeah,
That's
but I
it.
mean,
You strayed from the point of
I know, but I would like
of
to,
the
I don't want
table.
to be.
And I suggest maybe you should talk with, because, assuming that the board is going to do whatever they do, but why don't you talk with the person who's the chair of the Democrats in Clermont to know?
Okay, who's the chair of the Democrats in Clermont now?
She ran for town judge last time.
Phyllis.
Phyllis
Right,
Hyper.
right, okay.
Or Anne Marie, I
is
think they're co-chairs.
Is there,
Anne Marie, you know Anne Marie, she worked
yes,
at the table,
yes,
the voting day,
is there,
inspector.
is there a lady up in Philmont who's, I forget, I don't know if they told me her name, because she was taking pictures of everything to put
I don't,
in some sort of magazine?
there is, Clermont has a magazine, I think they call it Our Town, is that the name?
All right, you guys can continue this conversation
Yeah,
later.
Yeah, that's what she said.
The
Yeah.
second thing I wanted to mention was I heard you talk about the zoning board chairman, and you designated, I think, Hank Himmelray. Did you also talk about at the last meeting, Bruce Unson resigned?
No, it's the deputy chairman who appointed Hank Kilbride. Charlie is still the chairman. Yeah, Bruce indicated he did not want to continue.
No, he didn't want to continue on the board at the end of the year.
Yes.
He definitely didn't want to be deputy chair. So there is Bruce's opening, position open as well in at least by December. And
Actually, he's got a year and a half left.
he resigned.
He only wanted to resign as deputy chairman.
That's not what he said at the zoning meeting.
Well, that's.
Perhaps Mary could get the minutes that Tammy wrote up, but he resigned that night as deputy chair.
Right.
Because Charlie wasn't there, and he didn't want to do it. But he further said that he felt he wanted to resign from the board
At the end of his term.
at the end of the year, is what he said. Maybe he thought his term ended at the end of the
He
year.
did. That's what he told me last night on the phone.
At the end of the year?
That he thought his term was up at the end of the year,
Yeah.
and he was not gonna ask for another term.
Right. So somebody should clarify that, if he thinks he's resigning at the end of his term or at the end of the year. He said at the end of the year. Yeah. So that leaves us with some and everyone, myself and Peter, were happy with Hank filling that function. So because he probably will be doing it for a while.
We don't know. I talked to Charlie today, as a matter of fact. He said he's feeling much better, so, we'll see where that goes. We do have an alternate in place for the zoning board, which will be calling in, to fill, the void. And certainly if Bruce resigns, he'd probably be the one to step into that position at the end of the year, so.
Yeah.
But, for now, we're just gonna move along with current.
So that was as deputy chair is what Hank is technically.
Yes.
Right.
Understood. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else have any comments, questions? Not, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So,
Second.
All in favor?
uh,